What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a good Friday morning. It's Friday, the 2nd of December. Welcome back to another edition of the Morning View. Plenty of Manchester United stuff to get into today. We've got to talk about Joao Felix, possibly Joao Felix coming in January. Marcel, going to talk a little bit about that. Going to talk about Bruno Fernandes, sharks circling Bruno. You're not going to like this. Real Madrid, are they interested in Manchester United's technically not captain, but captain on the pitch, captain in Marcel's heart? Could that be a possibility? I'm going to talk a little bit about a strange story that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has watched every single match from when he was Manchester United manager. He's watched it back in his time away. Got some updates on some players possibly going out in January. Going to talk a bit about the World Cup as well. So there's plenty to get into this morning. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe button right-hand corner. Marcel, how are you doing on this Friday morning, my friend?
Morning. I'm all right, thanks. No breakfast this morning. I was in a little bit of a rush, to be fair. I wasn't set up fully. I was in a little bit of a rush. I wasn't fully set up this morning, so
when the intro is playing, this is what I love when you're in, like, when you're the host in your host in StreamYard, is you can see all of the boxes underneath you. So when the intro is playing, I can see Marcel flinging around wires like this.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit all over the place this morning, but other than that, good. You know, the World Cup, it was very exciting yesterday. A little bit of news circling Manchester United, of course, as well. So things are picking up. Looking forward to getting back into Old Trafford now. I'm just missing Old Trafford badly from my side.
Yeah, you sent me that message yesterday, didn't you, saying I miss watching Man United. Look, we're going to have some Man United match reviews coming up next week. We're going to be watching both friendlies live inside the studio. So we're going to get back there. We're getting back there. But before we get into anything today, before we get into today's edition of The Morning View, this show is brought to you by Fresh Ego Kid. Fresh Ego FC will be, for the third year, facilitating their annual Community Giveback for Campaign for Change to provide an essential hamper and gifts to families from low-income, vulnerable and at-risk families. This year, Fresh Ego FC is partnering with Anthony Joshua's charity, Clean Herts Community. This year, especially, of course, with the global inflation and fuel poverty, those families, along with other families, will struggle to provide the basics this Christmas and holiday season. Last year, through donations, Fresh Ego FC was able to give back to 120 families. This year, they actually expect to be supporting more than 350 families. So for a bit more information, here's a message from Anthony Joshua himself about this well-worthy cause.
What's happening, people? I hope you're good. So the festive period is fast approaching, and what I've come to realize is that a lot of people are actually unsure on how to kind of connect with communities and give back. So what I've done is my organization has teamed up with another organization to do some projects where we're going to be doing community work and spending time in communities and doing some give back projects, right? So we want to raise some funds, we want to get some items, because it's going to be rolled out across the whole year as well. This ain't just a one-stop shop. So if you want to get involved, follow the link, follow the Instagram page, the social pages for more info, and your help will be appreciated. We'll be there, I'll be there. It'll be a big community day. Don't worry about that, Leaf. And yeah, we appreciate your support fully, yeah? God bless, be safe, and I'll catch up with you all soon.
There you go, a message from AJ himself. And for how to get involved and support a well-worthy cause, links in the video description to donate or get more information to donate. Also, it's the pinned comment in the live chat, as I mentioned. During this holiday season, it's a well-worthy cause. So there you go. Also, Marcel, before we get into the news stories today, I don't know if you've heard the scuttlebutt. I don't know if you've heard the rumours. Have you heard the rumours?
No, what's the rumour? You got to tell me first.
It's someone's very special birthday today. It's Flex's birthday. Happy birthday. Marcel forgot.
No, this time last year we was playing Arsenal, and
Exactly.
I bought him a present that year, that time last year. So I need to make sure I throw him a message. Exactly. And I'm getting something then for sure. Because
yeah. Happy birthday, Flex, if you're watching this. It doesn't even matter if you're watching this, because you know what we're going to do, Marcel, right now. You've noticed I don't have my headphones in this morning. The reason I don't have my headphones in is because we're going to send Flex right now a happy birthday voice note. That's what we're going to do. Okay. I'm going to get my WhatsApp up, and there you go. Right, and we're going to sing together. You ready for this, Marcel?
Ready.
Right. Good morning, Flex, or good afternoon, where you are over there in Qatar. And it's your very special birthday. So Marcel is with me. Hello, Marcel. Speak.
Hello, Flex. How you doing? Hopefully it's nice and sunny out there in Qatar, enjoying the sun, the good weather.
Exactly. And we're going to sing happy birthday to you. So 3, 2, 1.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Flex. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah. Very good. I'll speak to you again later, mate. Brilliant. Wow, what a moment. Do you know how difficult it is to actually keep in sync
as well?
It's hard. Oh, that was challenging. But there you go. Happy birthday, Flex, if you are watching. And when you get that voice note as well. And from Flex to Felix. Oh, what a segue that is. Joao Felix, we're going to talk about this morning, folks, because it's being reported from the Times, so quite reputable outlet, Marcel, that Atletico Madrid will listen to offers for Joao Felix in January, with Manchester United among the clubs interested in him. United met his agent, Jorge Mendes, same agent as Cristiano, in the summer to discuss a move, but Atletico were then adamant he was not for sale, but that has changed. Clubs interested in Joao Felix are being sounded out over a deal worth 100 million euros. Manchester United and Bayern Munich have both retained a strong interest in him, while Barcelona have long been keen, but cannot afford such a hefty fee. What are your thoughts about Joao Felix, Marcel? To United in January, 100 million? Is that even possible?
Is that even possible? And that's the point, Owen. Is that even possible? £100 million being, that kind of massive transfer fee being made in January. I mean, you don't really see that happen all the time. Obviously, Joao Felix's situation hasn't worked out for him really at Atletico Madrid. So, and somebody that, a lot of people, when I'm looking at this player or I'm reading about him, a lot of people saying he doesn't really deserve to be in this Atletico side, but not for the reasons that you would think. It's because he's been paying so well, because he's got so much talent and ability, and he's been wasted in that system. When you consider that, it's likely that he makes a move to a better club that appreciates his talents and utilizes his strengths a bit more. And we could be that team. I mean, he scored a good goal against us last season in the Champions League, in the forward line areas, and looks like a good forward. Is 100 million is a bit too much? Is he the right kind of profile of forward as well? What kind of position do you see him as, Owen, for example?
Well, also, before I talk about Joao Felix, a lot of people in the comments saying our singing's awful.
Oh, yeah, no. We can't sing.
We should have rehearsed. We should have rehearsed it. We should have practiced. It's difficult. You try singing Happy Birthday across StreamYard in the morning. It's very challenging. I wasn't sure. I just want to drown Marcel out. It's whatever. Joao Felix, look, we wanted him in the summer. That is true. And that was at the period of time when United had just lost the first 2 games and we were going crazy, Marcel. We were just going after everyone. Suddenly, I think we lost to Brentford, and then it was like 2 days later, we're in discussions or we put an offer. It was actually, we just put an offer, like cold calling. We put an offer out there for Joao Felix, 100 million euros. And Atletico went, what? Like, no, we're not interested in selling him. And where did that come from? Now, things have developed a bit since then. By all accounts, he's not happy at Atletico, which doesn't surprise me because when he moved there in the first place, I think everyone universally went, well, that's an odd move. That's an odd move because you've got this flair player attacking young talent and he was the most expensive teenager in the world or whatever. And he's going to a side that's, notoriously defensive and pragmatic. He didn't really fit. So subsequently since then, and he has had success since then, won titles and all that kind of stuff, but still he's had a falling out with the manager and United are sniffing around. I mean, it would be so Manchester United, wouldn't it? Let's face it, of going, we weren't even going to do any business in January. And then Cristiano Ronaldo gets his contract terminated and then we spend 100 M's on Joao Felix. That would be so typical, but is he really what we need in January? That's the question. What we need is a striker, and we're not going to get a striker because I think we're going to go after Cody Gakpo, who isn't technically a striker.
Yeah, same problem. Yeah.
Same problem. So, I mean, Joao Felix's best position is what? As a 10? As a 10?
Yeah, I would say a 10 or winger. 10 or winger.
But he could play up front.
Yeah, okay. Put it this way then, Owen. Who do you prefer more as the forward player, Gakpo or Joao Felix? And I feel like they're offering similar things but in different ways. So which one would you prefer more? And I think that's the question Ten Hag maybe has to answer as well.
Cody Gakpo all day. That's who I would prefer all day. And it's not, and that's not me saying before the people go, I tell you what, you're saying Cody Gakpo's better than Joao Felix. How dare you? I'm saying no.
Yeah,
in terms of what Manchester United need, and in terms of what is the best economic deal, you know, because I mean, people don't like to hear it, but we spend a lot of money in the summer. There might not be the budget to spend 100 million again in January. I mean, how often do clubs do that just in general? Even well-run clubs, they never spend 100 million in January on one player. That's very, very rare. So, you know, and let's face it, we didn't even sign Cody Gakpo in the summer because we overspent. Had we got Anthony, I was looking through the United View TikTok page the other day. Be sure to check it out. And I was going back to some clips from the summer, and I saw a bit where me and Flex were talking about possibly signing Anthony for 40 million. I laughed out loud. Oh, 40. 40 million. It cost 100 million euros. I
mean, when we first got quoted for the player, it was around that price, and then we kind of just rejected it, and we end up paying double.
Exactly. So that happened. So there isn't a ton of budget for a player in January. There's enough to get Cody Gakpo for say 50 million euros. Yeah. But that's half. That's half for Joao Felix. But I suppose the counter argument, Marcel, is someone like a Joao Felix doesn't become available all the time. So when he does, maybe show your intent.
Yeah. Are we in that stage where we have to go and spend all the money on one big signing, like you're saying there, like you're alluding to? I think, like you said, economically, it's a bit better if you can maybe get two players in, two 50 million pound players in, instead of, you know, the 100 million pound Joao Felix. So I don't know. I think you got to think smarter. We still have options in the midfield, maybe to look at. Right back is a massive issue. Dalot cannot be going the second half of the season playing all these games again. He can't go through that again. So we have to find something someone has to come in. So if it's Joao Felix is an issue if you spend 100 million euros there. Go on.
I've got a response from Flex.
Is it?
Yeah, I've been given permission to play this live as well. So let's see what he has to say.
I've just realized, I'm like, isn't Owen live? Isn't what's happening? And then I've just put the video on, and I've seen that you guys have actually done this live as well. So, yeah, big up you guys. Appreciate the love. Big up Marcel. Big up to all you guys, the viewers as well, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate you all. I am living the dream out here, and happy that I'm doing you guys proud, and so much more to come. So, yeah, feeling very lucky. Very lucky. Now, get back to Joao Felix, because I want him. I want someone in January. Big up.
There you go. He wants Joao Felix in January.
He wants Joao Felix.
I've got half of my sending response going to take it back. Joao Felix in January. Flex, you've been out in the sun too much. He's got sun. Look, if this was the summer, then I'd have a completely different mentality. And if Joao Felix doesn't go in January, I'd say revisit it. Oh, revisit that in the summer. Why not, Marcel? You know, attacking players. What does Ten Hag keep saying? We want attacking options, but now is not the right time. Timing is everything. Yeah. But at the same time, I suppose timing is everything. He's become available now. Do you shift things for the summer? If you go, actually, look, we were going to go for someone like Joao Felix in the summer. It's happened now. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this one.
Then you have a weaker summer. Then if you spend 100 million euros now, Owen, you have a weaker summer. I think you have less money to spend in the summer. But then if you revisit in the summer, like you're saying, I think other players you look at other players maybe being available, and Vlahovic, Harry Kane. You know, there's other options there, you know, that we could potentially get in there.
Why did you have to throw Harry Kane in there?
Harry Kane's been marvellous in this World Cup so far.
He hasn't scored.
His currency is goals, like I was saying in the watch along the other day.
His currency is goals, and he's very light at the moment.
But at the end of the day, he's been assisting and he's been playing the forward line very well. So, you know, he's someone that we have to look at in the summer.
Not going to get him.
It's somebody to look at. It makes perfect sense. Him and Vlahovic makes perfect sense. One of the two, and obviously proactive footballer Joao Felix, I think, is in that category. You know, someone that can do the pressing a lot better than Harry Kane, even if I'm honest. And it's somebody that we should look at. I think it's somebody we should look at in summer. Consider him in January, I don't think makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, in an ideal world, you'd bring in a Joao Felix, you would. But as of right now, I just don't think it's the right move. I really don't. I think, again, in terms of the money to be spent, I do think Cody Gakpo's the guy because it's going to sound very Glazer boyish, but it's a cheaper option. It's a more viable option. It's a deal that can be done quicker, you know, as well. By all accounts, he wants to move. You've got the same agent. with Eric Ten Hag. Let's not make no mistake as well. Whilst I'm sure that, if Joao Felix wanted to move, George Mendes can make it happen. But who knows what that relationship is like at the moment between United and George Mendes, right? Yeah. It ended very badly with Cristiano Ronaldo. That's a possibility too. So in an ideal world, of course, you'd have Joao Felix in Manchester United side. He's a great player. And to your point, when we played Atletico last season in the Champions League, he scored against us away. Did he score against us at home as well?
Yeah.
Scored both legs. And he's a really good player. And of course, he would add so much to the team. But it scares me because that's what United have done for the last decade. It's just a really, a well-known player becomes available and we just go, oh my God, let's bring him in. Joao Felix in Manchester, let's bring him in. And then it's like, okay, well, where's he going to play? I don't know. Does he fit into the system? I don't know. We've got him. Let's figure him in. And it's a case of what do we actually need? And most importantly, what does the manager want? Because if Eric Ten Hag said, actually, you know what? I want Joao Felix, then we'd have to go, oh, do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And if that's what he thinks we need, then bring him in. But I would love to know whether this would be more club-driven or Eric Ten Hag-driven.
Well, let's look at his profile. His profile looks more similar to a Tony Martial's, I think, and I'm looking back to, the type of striker that Ten Hag's used before in previous time, Haller, the likes of Haller, that's more of a Gakpo type body frame in terms of, can play. I think Gakpo can play back to goal, if I'm honest with you. I've seen a couple of the games in the World Cup. I think he can play back to goal. And I think he's he can mold himself into the target man type frame and style of play, similar to the likes of Van Haller. Whereas Joao Felix, I think, is more like a Tony Martial. And I think Tony Martial has to leave at some point if he's not able to stay fit for 60, 70, 80% of the games in a season. So, Felix could be replacement there.
Well, and also as well, to your point, if we're signing, because the idea is January, we're signing someone that can play as a striker, and Cody Gakpo can play as a striker. That we're signing someone to help replace Ronaldo in that striker role. And if we sign Joao Felix, you would say, I still don't think you've signed someone that can really play up front in the way that Eric Ten Hag wants his strikers to play up front. Because again, even for Cristiano Ronaldo, he couldn't play up front in the way that Eric Ten Hag wanted his strikers to play. And I would wonder, can even Joao Felix do that? One of the big positives of Anthony Martial when he does play up front, and even to an extent Marcus Rashford, he's not great at it, but he can do it, is playing with your back to goal, bringing defenders in, bringing the fullbacks in, and then allowing space for the wingers either side of him. The perfect insight into that is Anthony's goal against Arsenal, where Rashford has his back to goal, he draws the fullbacks in, and it gives Anthony a bit of room, and he scores. That's, in an ideal world, that is what Eric Ten Hag wants his strikers to do, have that ability to play with their backs to goal. Again, we know Martial can do that. We've seen him do that. Rashford can kind of do it, not great, and he really shouldn't be playing up front, but he can do it. I think Cody Gakpo, to your point, can do that because he's rangy. He's got the frame to do it. We've seen it at the World Cup. Can Joao Felix do that in a league whereby, look, it is more physical than Spain? I know he plays in a physical side in Atletico Madrid, but against some quality Premier League centre-backs with that physicality, can he play with his back to goal? Or are we then thinking, how do we get Joao Felix into the side? And, how quickly is he going to adjust to the league as well?
Yeah.
These are all
and does he play on the right? Because we're too left-sided heavy right now, and he played in the two, to your point, he played in the two. He hasn't played in a one before. At Atletico, he was playing in the two. He wasn't playing as a singular striker, having to play back to goal, like you're saying, to your point. So we'll see how he develops. But, I think it's better to go with the Gakpo.
Go with a Gakpo. I like that. I think I'd be really surprised if this one happened. Wouldn't be totally surprised if he did move Joao Felix. But at the end of but also, who would sign him then? 100 million in January is a lot. That's atypical for a January transfer window. So who would really buy him, do you think?
Bayern Munich could look at it if they don't get Harry Kane. I think, because Harry Kane's in pursuit of trophies. So Bayern Munich could look at potentially getting Harry Kane, and that would be a good, perfect fit for him, maybe. But, if they don't get him, Joao Felix is an option for them. I keep saying if Osimhen leaves, then maybe somebody goes in there. I think Ronaldo maybe ends up there if Osimhen leaves in the summer, in January, sorry. But no, I'm not sure. It's a good question. It's a good question. Hopefully Real Madrid can buy him, so that means they'd have less money to spend on Jude Bellingham, so he can come to the Premier League.
We have had this debate a million times off camera in UVHQ, guys. Whenever Marcel brings up Harry Kane, I tend to sort of roll my eyes and sigh. And I always say to him, Marcel, Harry Kane's going to Bayern Munich. Harry Kane's going to Bayern Munich. I believe it. I don't believe he'd go to anywhere in the Premier League because I think he loves Spurs that much. But to your point, Marcel, I do think Harry Kane wants to win trophies. He's 29, 30. He's basically got a 5-6 year period now where it's like, got to win trophies, got to do something. He's had too good of a career and he's too talented to go for his career not winning anything. That would be such a shame for him. Because even people like Alan Shearer, they did win the Premier League, won it at Blackburn Rovers, you know? So it would be such a shame for him not to win a trophy. I don't see, obviously that's not going to happen at Spurs. I just don't see why he would come to United. I really don't. Explain to the audience what you always say to me when I say this. Why would he come to United?
280 goals a season. Sorry, not 280 goals in the career. In the whole career, the Premier League career, he's chasing Alan Shearer's record. He's chasing Alan Shearer's record. So he's gonna still have maybe, like to your point, 3 or 4 good seasons, maybe even 5. We've seen Benzema play at the top pinnacle, the pinnacle of his game at 34, 35 years of age. Harry Kane can produce that. Every single season without fail, it's 20 plus goals. It's double figures goals and assists. There's not many.
Come to United.
I believe we can win trophies in the next 3 or 4, 5 years. I believe we can deliver him a Premier League title. I think one Premier League title means way more to him than 3 or 4 Bundesligas for sure. And with that, he's gonna want to push himself, stay in the Premier League, and continue to chase his targets. He's got targets to chase. Alan Shearer's record is only 50, 60, 70 goals away. He can achieve that at Manchester United.
But imagine saying to Harry Kane, if you're in negotiations with him and he's 29, 30, going, we'll promise you we might win a title in 3 years. And even that, Marcel, that's a stretch. Win a title in 3 years. He wants trophies now. And I know your point, you might say, yeah, but Bundesliga is not as much as the Premier League. Well, that's fair enough. But at the same time, it's a medal, it's a trophy that's near enough guaranteed. They might win the Champions League as well. That's worth a lot. I mean, I just don't see it. I really don't see it. And I don't see how Manchester United could convince him. And why? Could you imagine the backlash he'd get from Spurs fans if he went to United? And it's not like Robin van Persie when he went from Arsenal to United, because again, it was a sure thing by that point. You went to United, you won a league every other year minimum. But it's not like that at the moment. We haven't won the league in a decade at the end of this year. So imagine the nerve of us going, we're going to win it in the next 3 years. You'd be like, come on.
Well, what do you think? What's Ten Hag here for? What's he here for? I'm pretty sure he believes he can ascertain trophies for the club in the next 3-4 years.
Frankie's his guy. Frankie's his boy. He couldn't convince him in the summer. We're going to win the league. He was like, bullshit. Are we going to win?
But Frankie's a bit younger in his career. He's almost doing what Harry Kane's doing now, staying at the club that he loves for so long without really achieving anything. He's going through that same. He's going to maybe realize, he's going to bump his head and realize, well, I should have listened to the gaffer. I should have listened to my ex-gaffer, Ten Hag, and made the move. So, Kane's only making the sensible choice. The only club that really can take him in the Premier League right now is Manchester United. He's offering Manchester United 20 goals and 10 assists minimum per season. Minimum. That's not many players in world football can do that. Not many players in world football can do that.
Only club in the Premier League, but that club that he could only go to, in your words, no guarantee he's going to win a title. No guarantee.
Bruno Fernandes and Harry Kane in the same team. Marcus Rashford in the same team. Anthony in the same team. Garnacho. We've got Casemiro. Eriksen's in there. There's Baller. He's part of it. He's a very strong part of this team now. And finally, he doesn't have to keep coming back into the midfield areas to do the creating. He just needs to stay up and score the goals. He has to just be disciplined in this side. He can't press as well. If anyone's going to say to me, his ankles, his legs, I can understand that. He's not brilliant at pressing right now. We've seen in England a couple performances. It doesn't look great, but he still does press. He's still got the work rate. He's fantastic.
Yeah, but it's not happening. How much are you willing to stake on that Harry Kane will be a Manchester United player in the next, I'll give you 2 years?
How much am I willing to stake? £5. We're not betting people.
It doesn't have to be money. Whatever.
What forfeit? I'll do a forfeit then. What? Like I'll wear a Harry Kane shirt or something.
Let us know in the live chat. What should Marcel have to do if Harry Kane doesn't join us by, let's say, the end of next season or the end of next year's transfer window? It's going to be a long bet here because it's so fantastical that I'm willing to give Marcel time. Because
I appreciate you. So what? Two summer windows you've given me.
Well, So when are you saying you think he'll be here by then?
Well, I would like to see him here this summer. If it's not this summer, 31-year-old Harry Kane is still possible to utilize him for maybe 3 or 4 years till 35. So if you're giving me 2 summer windows, then it's definitely happening. I'm confident. I'm very confident, and I don't mind agreeing to something that's reasonable. Cut off the Kane rose I'm seeing just sounds crazy. That my strength is in my hair, guys. I can't cut this off, so I'm not cutting it off.
Oh, to be fair, here Abdi says, why could it not happen? The Glazers could well be going and could spend big. The new owners could spend big. Yep. Don't give Marcel that kind of positive reinforcement. He needs to be told.
Him and Mbappe is very possible. You never know what's happening.
Now you're going crazy. Now we're going to sign Harry Kane and Kylian Mbappe under the new owners, which we haven't got yet.
Listen. Stranger things have happened on this earth. Stranger things have happened in football.
Yeah, but no one super chat says in the next 3 or 4 years, Harry Kane will have arthritis. Well, there you go. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. If Marcel's pursuit of Harry Kane isn't worth a like, I don't know what is this morning, but there you go. And still let us know in the live chat or in the comments if you're watching afterwards. If Harry Kane is not a Manchester United player by not the next summer, the summer after his transfer window, what will Marcel have to do? By that point, he'll be an old man. He'll have grey hair at that point, but it doesn't matter. What does Marcel have to do? Let's move on and talk about another player like Bruno Fernandes. And Real Madrid possibly could be interested in Bruno. This was a story that came out of Portugal yesterday from terrible my pronunciations. Dario Record. I believe that's in Portugal, or it could be in Spain, actually. I don't know. Oh, it's Portugal. It says Portugal in the name. Bruno Fernandes feels, quote, satisfied and complete at Manchester United. He's focused on objectives at Manchester United, despite Real Madrid being interested in the player. Do you think there's any possibility of Real Madrid turning Bruno's head, Marcel?
One of those few clubs actually can above Man United. If we're even looking at that, I can't even imagine it. But obviously, I've seen it happen before in Cristiano Ronaldo, so it's possible. But Bruno Fernandes, when I think about Bruno Fernandes, I think of somebody that is Man United. You know, I feel like he's a Man United player. So full David De Gea kid.
I like this a lot.
I can agree to that. That's all right. I can agree to that one. But
let's make it a bit earlier then, because I don't want to wait till 2024 for that.
Only one window. What one window?
Are you saying Harry Kane's going to be here at the end of next summer?
The summer just coming up. The summer coming up now.
Yeah, and if not, you have to wear a David De Gea shirt.
No, fine. That's fair enough. Yeah, I don't mind that. I'll take that risk. But I genuinely believe though that it will be ironic if he comes the next summer, because he'll be 31. It could still happen, and maybe cheaper and more affordable. So it'll be ironic if he comes the next summer. So originally it would have been 2 summers.
Yeah,
but I would do it for one for sport. I don't mind.
There you go. You've heard it here, and you can keep us honest, folks, and it will be clipped and it will be put on social media. If Harry Kane is not a Manchester United player by the end of next summer, Marcel will wear a David De Gea shirt. Will you say anything about David De Gea when you're wearing the shirt?
Yeah, I've always praised his performances. I don't know why people would think otherwise. When he plays well, I'm the first one to say it. And when he doesn't play well, I'm also the first one to say it. That's all it is. So no problem.
No problem. Gnome says, we can't keep buying 30-year-olds to get us started this year. Okay, we need to buy players that can grow under Ten Hag. Need to buy 2 strikers soon, referring to the Kane situation. But yeah, when it comes to Bruno, look, I would be really, really surprised if he went to Real Madrid. I mean, this year signed a new contract with United, which was 5 years, I believe it was. Yeah. So even if he wanted to force that move through, it would cost Real Madrid a lot of money. He is going to be, I think, the next official captain of Manchester United. I know Harry Kane is still Harry Kane on the brain. Harry Maguire is still the official club captain, but I think his days are a bit numbered. I wouldn't be surprised if Harry Maguire went this summer, honestly. I mean, those sort of rumblings are out there. So I wouldn't be surprised if United sort of cut their losses in the summer and Maguire went, which would therefore imply that Bruno would be the next captain. So why would you let him go? I know obviously it's Real Madrid and the big club, and obviously they do win things, and they're sort of, well, it's not top of the league in La Liga at the moment. They still have a very big chance they could win the league this season, and they won the Champions League last season. But it would appear that he's found his club, Bruno, and he's well loved by the fan base. He's well loved by the manager. I just don't see that at all. And let's say hypothetically, Marcel, if it did happen, I mean, how disastrous would that be if Bruno went to Madrid?
That's maybe it would be a good thing, because a lot of the fan base do think that his style doesn't fit the play, but game after game he's proven himself. He's one of those players that want to do well for this club. He wants to win games for the club, so he's going to improve his level. He's still trying to figure out the best version of himself within this system. But we've seen the best version of himself in other systems, and we know that he wants to score goals and contribute to this team. So he's a perfect captain. He's the perfect captain right now in this evolutional phase within the club. And maybe later on he does end up going. But he's about 28, 29, 30 now, I think you were saying. So I think he's Man United through and through. And we just need to upgrade the pieces around him, because he wants to force that ball forward. And if you've got world-class players like the Mbappes that are constantly trying to break lines and go forward, it's more assists that Bruno gets. And you can see that, for the Rafael Leao goal that he scores, that he assists for Portugal, like the Joao Felix goal that he assists for Portugal. These are players that want to break lines and get forward. And that's been a little bit of our issue with the likes of Sancho and Antony, players that a little bit lethargic in terms of breaking lines. Now Garnacho coming through, we've got players that want to score goals in that kind of fashion. So he's a fantastic player, one of my favorites, as you guys all know, and I hope that he just continues to do well for our club.
And he's been in such great form at the World Cup so far. Interestingly enough, it's obviously he's been playing in that 10 role central, and a lot of people have been saying, well, this is why, even though sometimes when you're trying to facilitate other players into the team, maybe like a Donny or whoever, this is why you don't put him out wide, because if you keep him in that 10 role, he'll make chances, he'll score goals. And here's hoping that he continues that form coming back to Manchester United as well. Speaking of Maguire, briefly before we move on to the next one, did you see that thing with Harry Maguire in is it the Ghanaian Parliament? Did you see that? No. I wish I'd have brought the clip with me. Basically, there's this politician, I think it's in the Ghanaian Parliament, and he talks about, I think they're talking about some bill or some thing they want to implement, and they say that like the bill could be the equivalent of a political Harry Maguire in terms of scoring own goals, a detriment to the team, an economic Maguire. That's it as well. It's the wildest clip, and the Maguire thing has spread so far. It's being talked in political chambers in other countries at this point.
Yeah, this is how big this club is.
It's an economic Maguire. Instead of saying an economic own goal, they've said an economic Maguire. It's one of the craziest things I think I've ever seen in my life. And the worst thing is, he's saying it. Everyone around him, they know
understand
what he's talking about. Yeah, they're roaring, Marcel. Absolutely roaring. They're nodding their heads. It's insane. If you haven't seen it, guys, go on Twitter or whatever. It's all over Twitter at the moment. It's mental. It's insane. It's one of the wildest things.
The club's massive, Owen. The club's massive, man. And just that's a testament to one of them things. And the fans have been going crazy for like a year now. So it's going to all corners of the earth.
Exactly. It really is. This is a weird story, and we won't talk about it too long because I'm not sure what we can really get out of it. But it was reported yesterday by The Athletic. They did a little piece on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and speaking about what he's done in his time away since he was sacked by Manchester United. Spoke about he's turned down job offers, turned down punditry offers. He's focused on sailing at the moment and just living his life. But also, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has rewatched all his 168 matches from his time as Manchester United manager. Marcel, what do you think Solskjaer would think after watching those 168 games?
He's putting himself through the mad torture. What's going on?
That's a lot of time as well.
What's going on?
What do you think you'd learn?
I don't know. Hopefully he would have been able to develop a more forward-thinking system, put his team, 5, 10, 15 yards higher up the pitch. Even though a lot of people, when I say that, they'll be like, no, but we was on average a lot higher up the pitch under Ole. I just feel like his style of football to the eye it wasn't an attractive style of football. But a lot of people say he wasn't backed well enough within the board. So there is that to put in when he looks at his sides. He was anticipating maybe a Jack Grealish to be in that side, by the time it gets to the 140th game, say, and Jude Bellingham were also types of players that he wanted within his teams. So, but when he looks at these games, he's going to see very boring football, extremely boring football for me. And maybe he looks back on it where he could have tried to play a bit more, progressive and attacking, and hopefully that's what he takes from it. Because when you're a Man United manager, that's what you got to do, man. You've got to be ruthless. You've got to be an absolute killer. Every single game, every single opportunity, you want to play the most attacking style of football and winning football as possible. I don't think he done that. So he let himself down, I think, a little bit in that regard. But, in terms of building a team unity, building a team ethos, I think he done well at that. Harmony within a squad. I think he was definitely able to achieve that. And for the type of players that he had, I think he done all right. There was he got a few decent finishes within his tenure, and good luck to him, though. It's time for him to move on, obviously, and I don't think he could have ever been a great Manchester United manager at that stage and that current stage on the squad that he had.
Luxil says, I think that's dedication. He might cook when he comes back to management. And Simon says it's called self-improvement. Big up, Ollie. Look, you could argue, if you've got that, you have that time between jobs and making a mistake as well. And I don't know this to be completely accurate. This is just speculation on my part. But if he had signed a long-term contract the year that he got sacked by United, you have to remember that too, because obviously, was it that summer after the Europa League final, he signed a long-term deal, didn't he? And then he was gone
PSG after the PSG game, was it?
No, it was after the Europa League final when we lost on penalties. Solskjaer, I think, signed a new 3-year deal at that period of time. So because of that, you would think logically he doesn't actually need to go anywhere for 3 years. So during that period of time, he could reflect and look back on those matches, and maybe he might want to look at, if I'd have done it again, this is what I would have done, or where did it go wrong, or what have you. Look, he's never going to get a job as big as Manchester United again. He just
exactly.
won't. He's not that quality of a manager, but he will get other jobs, and he'll get, I suppose, a decent job. And he might be thinking, look, I've got to learn from these mistakes. I've got to figure out what went wrong. And I still believe in that style of play, whatever that style was, it must be said, particularly in that last season for him. I think prior to that, you could argue his style of play was very much counter-attacking football, and he might continue with that. Look, why not? Why not? Why not watch him back if that's what you want to do to improve? And if he does come back and he improves, good for him, like I said, but he's not going to get that level of a job again. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Not even at 100 likes. We just got there, just like that. Look at that, Marcel. I said it and then it happened.
Perfect timing.
200 likes. See if it'll happen again. It didn't. Let's talk about some player updates as well. Some fringe players here, because Samuel Lutkus did a lot of reporting yesterday from the Manchester Evening News. Let's start off with Axel Twanzebe. He is aiming to return from injury for the resumption of the Premier League. He's been sidelined since July with a back problem, but has continued his rehab during the World Cup. He's been using a zero-gravity running machine to aid his recovery. Just quickly on Twanzebe, he was on the tour, wasn't he, with United?
Yep.
And then went home. I believe at the time they said it was personal issues, but also now he's had a back injury. I don't see personally, Marcel, any way back, pardon the pun, for him at United, because one, there's so many players ahead of him. And talk about a guy that's just been, blighted by injuries. He was out of action under Ollie for it was 18 months with a hip injury or something like that. And now a back injury. If he does get fit, would you expect he goes in January?
No, I think I expect him to be utilized part of the squad for the 6-month period. I remember speaking off air to you guys saying, do we anticipate Twanzebe coming back? And I got a resounding no from everyone. Yeah. I think it's you, Cams, DJ for a watch along, and you don't know. But I don't know. I just feel like it's possible, if he comes back fit, it's possible that he does have a few games for us or is able to contribute. You got Maguire himself, Lindelof. if there is injuries to any players, and there's a lot of games, Owen, honestly, we've got a lot of games. That Everton's just been added to the list as well at home. A lot of the games are at home, and they're all 3 and 4 day rests. So maybe Tuanzebe has a small part to play. I'm not saying, we keep him up beyond that point, but I would say keep him until, is his contract end in summer, or because I would say keep him until summer.
Still reeling. I mean, I'm still reeling because I thought you're going to go, yeah, he'll go in January, get himself fit, and he'll go, and then we'll utilize him. How?
Yeah. So
played for like 2 years.
Yeah, but if he gets fit, I think Ten Hag can utilize him. I genuinely feel like. Let's see. I don't think he goes in the summer. I don't think he goes in January. Put it that way.
What? He's going in January. He is going in January. Was it last year? Went to Napoli, didn't play. I mean, he's out on loan anyway, wasn't he, last year? This is how crazy his career has been. He was on loan to Villa, and they weren't using him, and then he went to go to Napoli. He managed to upgrade, but he never played. I think him, and we're going to get some other players shortly, but he's an example of get fit to go. I think he would have gone in the summer had he not been injured. So I don't see any way that he can contribute at this point. Realistically, I think it's done. And also as well, I'd have any club. I'd have major reservations about a guy that, in terms of the time available, in terms of fitness, has been like 1 out of the last 2 years. I mean, that's a major concern. So I don't see any way back. I mean, I'm shocked that you think there's a way back for him.
Let's see. I genuinely do believe there's a way back. You know me, positive, optimistic, and that's just how I am. And I genuinely believe. I think he has qualities. He's only ever played 1 or 2 top level games for the club, and he's had 4 ones in big moments. But I do think, with the injury list that we have, Owen, and you can't just buy players like that in football. I think he'll still be in and around.
He's on the injury list. He's on the injury list.
Yeah, but he's on his way to recovery, of course, isn't it? And I think if he's able to get himself fit to start of January, then I think he can be utilised within the squad, honestly.
Let's talk to your favourite topic, goalkeepers. Samuel Luckhurst also reporting that Tom Heaton is hopeful of returning from a knee injury in time for Manchester United's warm weather training camp in Spain next week. So he could be part of those friendlies that we're going to be covering. Who would you rather have in goal, Tom Heaton or David De Gea?
David De Gea. I'll have David De Gea and go because he's better quality keeper. But Heaton's been good in training.
What in what training? What have you seen?
Obviously, you've seen the warm-ups. I've seen the pictures during pre-season.
Start with the warm-up stuff again, because you said this about Martin Dubravka, and then when he played in that when he played in that Carabao Cup game, what did he do?
No, but he had a quite decent performance. Owen, don't say he didn't have a decent performance.
He didn't.
I think you're right. I think Dubravka was all right.
They had like
he was poor.
They had like 2 shots and they scored twice.
No, but they weren't particularly his fault. They weren't his fault like that. No, honestly. And then he had a shocking,
massively different than that.
He had a hospital pass. He had a hospital pass given to him by Dalot as well. I remember, and he had to hit it with his left. I think
it's Dallow's fault though.
Yeah, definitely Dallow's fault. It weren't Dubravka's. Dubravka is actually a hidden gem. But look, he's actually quite good. He's actually quite good. I'll be honest. I'll be honest.
On my life, if David De Gea was in goal in that game and he conceded those 2 goals, you would never say they weren't his fault, though. No way.
No, I most probably would. No, I most probably would. I'd own up to it and say, it's his fault.
Man.
But I've answered your question. I've answered your question.
Oh, yeah, I asked and I got the answer I wanted. Brandon Williams also, he's expected to travel to Cadiz with the rest of the Manchester United squad, having recovered from a long-term injury that kept him sidelined since July. That also comes from Samuel Luckhurst. With Brandon Williams, I've seen people saying that he could actually have a part to play at Manchester United this season at right back, because obviously Aaron Wan-Bissaka, it looks like he's going to go out on loan. What would you rather have? Would you rather have Brandon Williams as your backup right back, or would you let Brandon Williams go and recall Ethan Laird?
Ooh, I think Brandon Williams maybe has a bit more first team experience and can play both sides. I think he can play left and right back. But Ethan Laird, yeah, no, I was only joking there.
You know what's wild?
I was only joking there. I was waiting for
my head. That one. I'm so used to it at this point that when you said I went.
I don't know, Ethan Laird. So I was speaking to a few QPR fans when I'm in London, and they're saying, he's always happy, he's smiling, he's playing well at the times, he's enjoying his football. Sometimes you don't want to break that up, for a player and their development. Sometimes you don't want to break them up. Let him get his full apprenticeship and his learning period, his studying period at QPR, and continue to enjoy his football. We've got Brandon Williams here that can play on both sides. Malacia that can cover the right back spaces as well. I think ultimately we go into the market and get a right back. And Brandon Williams has to go ultimately, but I think he's somebody that can be utilized on both sides, left back and right back, and he's had first team experience. He's played under the lights at OT, so somebody that can be used for sure as well. To answer your question, I would say keep Brandon Williams at the club for the 6 months, and keep Ethan Laird in his process at QPR.
See, I've been a big advocate for bringing Ethan Laird back. And the reason I have is I understand it is a bit of a gamble, because obviously if he stays at QPR, he plays pretty much every game between now and the end of the season. And look, it's Championship, it's a good league, especially to develop, especially when it comes to physicality and especially when it comes to improvement. But at the same time, I'm not sure in his career he'll ever get a better opportunity to play senior games at Manchester United. Obviously, he's not going to play all of them if he comes back to United. Dallow's still going to play the lion's share, the majority. But Dallow can't play all of them. As much as he wants to, and as much as physically he tries his best to, he will not play all of those games. And frankly, this season, had we had a competent backup to Diogo Dalot, he wouldn't have played as many games. I'm convinced of it. In certain games, there would have been more rotation in that right back position. So I think if Ethan Laird does come back, Ten Hag does like him. He wouldn't have sent him out on loan to develop otherwise. And when he played against Rayo Vallecano, he played pretty well in that. He played the entire 90 minutes, or definitely the first half at least. But he played really well in that game. And so my point being is that if he does come back, I think he will play games for United. And then you weigh up, okay, what's better for his development? Playing every week for QPR in the Championship, or playing between now and the end of the season, let's say 10 games for United at right back. What's better for his development? And it's all about luck. It's all about opportunity. If he plays well, I'm not saying he's going to take Dalot out of his spot, but suddenly you go, well, no need to get a right back in the summer. We've got Ethan Laird. He's done really well.
A really good point, Owen. So, when you say these things, I look to the development, story arc of a Phil Foden, where he just got the here we go minutes, 20, 30 minutes, staying within the club system, learning the system within the team. But, every so often coming off the bench in easier games, then he comes on. Whereas I think potentially when you're sharing the position with Dalot, you're gonna have to take maybe 2 games, and you played the whole game potentially. So I think that maybe might be too much on a young player's shoulder like Ethan Laird that hasn't played as many first team games as a Brandon Williams, and he's also played for Norwich as well in the Premier League. So he's almost becoming a Premier League player, and would be able to play under that kind of pressure. He's a bit more familiar with the role and being a professional. I think Ethan Laird still should have that process that he's awarded. It's every 3 days that you're playing in the Championship. Yeah. Every 4 days, it's almost double the amount of games potentially.
It'll be that in the Premier League, don't it?
Yeah, that's very true. And with the amount of competitions that we're in as well, but I still think having that process where you're getting it must be more games. It must be more games in the Championship, surely.
Yeah, he would play more games, certainly. 100% he would play more games. But I mean, it's interesting because Broderick says 10 games versus 25, LOL, give it a rest, Owen. But my point is, there's a difference in quality in those games. 10 full games at senior level for Manchester United, either in the Premier League or, in the Cup or whatever, versus 25 in the Championship. You could argue that's kind of equal in terms of experience. I mean, I understand playing every week is great in the Championship, but look at people like Marcus Rashford. My point being is that all you need as an academy player, sometimes it's not about talent. It's about luck and about opportunity. It's about finding yourself in the right place at the right time and taking your opportunity. And suddenly you've got a somewhat regular spot in the club, or somewhat regular spot, your dream club or a massive club like United. So I could see a scenario whereby he came back in January, did the second half of the season with United. Then in the summer, we do get that right back. Frimpong looks to be the option. And then he has another season out on loan. And then you see what happens there. Maybe this time at a Premier League club. again, it depends. I just think if I was Ethan Laird, I'd really consider, like, I tell you what, I might not get this opportunity to play this often, for United again. That might never happen. And I think sometimes you've got to take that risk. Because even if he came back and he doesn't play for the remainder of the season at United, you go, well, that's annoying. But at the same time, he'll go back out on loan next season. He'll be, and maybe to a better club, maybe to a Premier League club. Who knows what can happen with QPR? Maybe he goes to Rangers, where the QPR manager is at the moment. That'd be a good move for him as well. So yeah. I wouldn't rule it out. That's all I'm saying. Finally, I do want to talk about the World Cup as well, because yesterday was a day in the World Cup, Marcel. Germany are out. Belgium are out. 2 big hitters are gone. Let's start off talking about Germany. They did beat Costa Rica 4-2 in the end, but it wasn't enough because Japan beat Spain. First of all, let's talk about the ball over the line, all that kind of stuff. If you're not familiar, guys, basically in the build-up to Japan's second goal, was it the second goal? Yeah, the second goal. The ball looked like it had gone out of play, and from initial pictures, it looked like the ball was out. And initially it was given as out, but VAR overturned it. They said the ball wasn't out, and the goal was allowed to stand. Now, a lot of people, including myself, on social media went, "What? That ball looks out." But then I learned about angles in football and about perspective in football. That if you look from the way they judge it, is the ball, the angle from above, the ball would still be touching the line, like in tennis when they go, "Oh, it's out," and then they do the thing, they go, "Oh no, it's not. It was just hanging over the line." What did you make of all of that?
Spirit of the game, and if it means that we get more goals this way, then that's a good thing, and it was so interesting in that game. Japan were getting dominated completely in that first half. The way Spain were playing was so good to see, and then the game just all of a sudden turns on its head. Japan get 2 moments, and they're also capable of playing good football, and it's one goal after the other, quick succession, and the game's on its head. Really entertaining football match. Good moment for Japan, and at one moment it was Spain and Germany about to leave the World Cup, which would have been even better news for me. So
those 3 minutes,
it would have been great news for me. So I don't know. I'm really, really happy that Japan obviously played the way that they did and got back into the game that they did, and that's such. You get that similar kind of thing with corners. A lot of the time when I look at corners, it looks like the ball's not placed within that little space that you're meant to put the balls. A lot of the time it looks like it's outside the space. So it's a similar kind of thing, I'm assuming, and I'm really happy. If that means it's more goals that get scored, then I'm all for it.
No, I agree. And look, my thing with it was, and I think they obviously made the right decision in the end, and I think technology was right. I've seen these people saying you have to blindly trust technology, and I don't think that's completely accurate, because we've seen times in which technology has failed. So this idea that blindly, it's definitely right, I think you're allowed to question it. It was proven that it was right, but at the same time, I was somewhat perturbed that we couldn't get an image immediately. It took that long to get it, and I do think there's somewhat of an issue still, and this happens with technology and VAR. It's going to take time. It's still an evolving process, but we are in this era now where we should be able to get those pictures immediately. Again, ultimately they came to the right conclusion, so it doesn't really matter, but it was a bit odd that it was like, even after the game, they're like, we still haven't seen it. Haven't seen it. It's right, and eventually it was proven to be right, but it just felt odd that they couldn't get there immediately. But at the end of the day, who cares? I mean, Germany go out for the second group stage in a row. The tournament is full of shocks. That's what it's all about. This World Cup suddenly burst to life now. It's going to be in the next round. I mean, both sides would be happy with this. Japan versus Croatia. What a way to get to a World Cup quarterfinal. That could be a possibility for either. And then you've got Morocco versus Spain. And Morocco, they're no joke as well. They topped their group. Spain finished, again, second in the end. So that's a really interesting one. Also, as well, Belgium out. Speaking of that group, Belgium out. Again, number 2 ranked side in the world. Not reflective at all. Not reflective at all. And Romelu Lukaku, man, what's the misses yesterday?
So I haven't seen all the misses and what happened in this game for Romelu Lukaku. But I've seen Kevin De Bruyne for the last for all the games prior to that, and completely shocking, and just as a leader, to be complaining about your players being too old. Bruno has a 38-year-old and a 39-year-old in the same team, one in the forward line and the other in the defensive line. And he's got, Moutinho and all these other players that are just really old as well. And I don't hear him complaining. Modric Modric's whole team is old, and I don't hear him complaining.
Yeah.
So you can just tell Kevin De Bruyne is not a leader of men. He's not somebody that's like he's comfortable in a good team and performing the way he's performing.
He's just pissed off because that Belgium dressing room, clearly there's a lot going wrong in there. There's a lot of people that don't like each other. There's controversies. Bowler can obviously him and Courtois, for obvious reasons, don't like each other. Hazard reportedly doesn't like Trossard. And it's just not been... You know what it reminds me of, actually? It reminds me of Man United last season. It reminds me of United last season. When you heard those things about dressing room don't like each other, coaching, there might be issues with, all that kind of stuff. And again, Lukaku came on, I don't think he's played for like 2 months or whatever, and he had chances. And not just like they were, one of them was a cut across goal. I think it's Lovren. It looks like he's going to head it and he misses it. It's an open goal and he might be 4 yards out, maybe 5 yards out. And it just hits him. It just hits him and the keeper picks him up. It's just... Afterwards, Lukaku, he felt bad for him because he came off the pitch and he was in tears. Thierry Henry's hugging him, punches out the side of the dugout, because, from his mind, he might be like, I let my country down. But I think also at the same time, as someone coming into the tournament that was injured, he might be thinking, look, I know for a fact my teammates are better than this. And the fact that I was only ever going to really come in the knockout stages and I'm not ready, but he still should have scored the goals. But I don't care. Look, Belgium going out, the whole golden generation hasn't proven to be that golden. I think as England fans, we can sympathise with that because how many golden generations have we had that did all? Quite a few. But so, yeah, they're out as well. But when it comes to Croatia as well, their centre-back, how do you pronounce his name? Is it Gvardiol? Was
perfect.
Brilliant. He was absolutely sensational. He's been linked with Chelsea, and he is a proper player, a real quality centre-back. He played really well yesterday too.
Yes, I'm glad you're saying that. Can I just say we need to be looking at him, Owen. We need to be looking at him. He's somebody that we need to look at because honestly, he's looking like one of those that are just the best in class. Nobody looks like you can get near to him when he's on his game. So we need to be looking at him for sure.
100%. He's a quality player. And when it comes to today, the final two groups close. So you've got South Korea versus Portugal, Ghana versus Uruguay. And then in Group G, you've got Serbia versus Switzerland and Cameroon versus Brazil. Just looking at these tables, it would appear that Brazil and Portugal, they're both through, so they don't have to worry. So maybe not as much drama as we've seen the last couple of days. And it doesn't look like we're going to see any real big hitters go out. I suppose the biggest one that could go out could be Uruguay, I suppose, in that group with Ghana, South Korea, and them, of course. The big one, though, in that group is that it's Uruguay versus Ghana once again. It's the rematch from the 2010 World Cup. I don't know if you've seen Luis Suarez in these press conferences.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I refuse to apologize.
I
refuse to apologize. I wasn't the one that missed the penalty. And I saw some people going, "Oh, do you think Ghana have moved on?"
No, I've seen the coverage with Flex. I've seen Flex on the mic talking to the Ghana fans. I was hoping. I'm hoping Flex gets out there to be able to speak to them again after this game because it's a very intense match. This is going to be a very, very exciting match. Obviously, looking forward to watching the Man United players that are out today. Portugal, Brazil as well. If they're getting rotated or not rotated, hopefully they're preserved and able to be fit for the next rounds. But looking forward to this massive clash. Ghana against Uganda. I'm glad Suarez has been Suarez. And added his own personality to it because that's what you have to do. You have to be yourself at all times, and I know that's how he is. So very, very happy that he's been himself, and hopefully he plays because I know his legs are not the same. And forward line for Uruguay again, another old team. I'm not hearing them complain about being old, but another old team and Cavani, Suarez. I know they got a younger forward in Nunes, but he's no good. Hopefully Ghana can win. I want Ghana to win that game.
Me too. I would like Ghana to go through. Obviously, we've had African sides go through, Senegal, Morocco, etc. So, positive World Cup for them. I think, could you imagine if Luis Suarez scores against Ghana to send them out of the competition again? That would be wild. I think that's the game to watch today. But there you go, guys. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can wish Flex a happy birthday. Wish him a happy birthday on Twitter, on social media, or whatever platform, Instagram, you name it. It is his birthday today. Plenty of UV content on the horizon as well. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, you can check out the Community Giveback with Fresh Ego Kid and Anthony Joshua's charity. If you want to get more information about that, links in the video description. Pin comment in the live chat as well if you wish to donate. A very well-worthy cause in this holiday period. We're out of here. Have a good Friday, and we'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.